Guess who's back? Back again. It's not shady, but it's us. I always let the pre-roll happen because it's funny to me when Matt does or does not leave this in. So congratulations. Welcome to the pre-show. We're very chill here at the pre-show.
Lo-fi vibes.
It's your lo-fi comic book vibe.
I'm a little not disappointed, but I feel like I'm getting milked for Reach Records releasing lo-fi albums because I buy my music just because government and
Because reasons.
and
You wouldn't steal a car.
but like I also hate streaming.
That's fair.
But like Reach Records keeps releasing these lo-fi bop albums, but it's like lo-fi for the summer, lo-fi for the spring, lo-fi for the workday, lo-fi for Sunday. And I'm like, stop, bro. I can't keep buying all this mess.
Well, that's late stage capitalism for you. What?
Oh, so you want to take a beat that isn't worth your songs and then sell it to me as lo-fi and just put a cute graphic of a hip hop dude with a sheep and think I'm going to buy it because the sheep is cute?
Nailed it.
Yep. Yeah, got me.
All right. I guess we're back. So let's do the thing.
Huzzah.
Huzzah. Greeting, valued poll listeners, and welcome to episode 88 of the Poll List Podcast, a bi-weekly show about comics, pop culture, and faith. We back, baby! My name is Chris Poirier, and with me, as always, is the one, the only, just recently came back from a comic book convention. Yes, we do have those, and we're going to talk about that a little later. But Hector, how the heck are you? You survived your summer whatever it is we do here, a break, sabbatical, rest.
Well, yeah, that's not what I do.
Oh, the rest of it. Did you just say, excuse you, I work for a living? Fine.
No.
Fine.
It's just the 2 months we're not recording are two of the busiest months of my life. And I'm, grateful we do have a break because otherwise I'm trying to record this in like the bathroom of a convention center.
Coming up next, the Poll List Podcast, Bathroom Confessionals. Wait, what? No, that can't be right. Also, baby?
Don't hate it. I'm good. Like this weekend is my last like crunk, like balls to the wall weekend. Haven't said crunk in a good 5 years.
Well, here we are.
Here we are. I've just got to finish a big wedding today and tomorrow, and then I've got a con. I do have cons like the next 2 weeks, but it's not like, oh no, I'm pulling my hair out for these shows. So
understood. Well, I mean, we're back. We've got lots of comic books to talk about. So I guess that means that we've got to do the thing. So strap yourselves in and prepare yourselves for We've Got Comic Sign.
Better put the word out. Get ready for the nerd out. Better put specs on. Better break necks on. I cut handsome checks for my expansion sets. They call me Obi-Wan. Act like you know me, son.
Yeah, just put a little something cool in there. Great. Nailed it. You just got bedazzled by internet techno wizardry.
Just gonna put a post-it up that says no.
He's gonna do that now. So anyway, on today's episode of the Poll List, we've got a wonderful show for you. We're gonna hit the latest news, or at least stuff that kind of happened over the summer. Something happened, I think. Our poll recommendations from the past, well, since we've been here last, and our fave new number ones. Mine is actually from this week, and so much more. This is the Poll List Podcast. So, wandering into my high-tech newsroom that is my desk in my closet here with nerdy stuff on the walls. Stuff happened. Lots of stuff happened. San Diego Comic-Con happened, but nothing happened because there was no Hall H. There was basically proving that San Diego... Two things. Sorry. I didn't write this down, but I'm saying it anyway. Two things happened. A, nothing media happened at San Diego Comic-Con because of all the striking that's going on and all that stuff. No Hall H. Of course, the interesting thing there is Marvel didn't plan on doing a Hall H anyway. but that kind of got buried in the news cycle. And that's an interesting point that we can kind of talk here in a second. But so, yes, there was a strike, but Marvel was kind of intending not really going deep in Hall H this year anyway, because frankly, they didn't have anything to show and they knew it. They looked at what happened last year, where they literally announced 26 projects, I believe was the timeline, and that they were going to be late on over half of those now. So they were like, maybe we'll talk about the next Avengers movie. Maybe we won't. And that was the end of their list. But everyone freaked out and went, oh my goodness, San Diego Comic-Con's going to sink because there's no famous people there. And then all the comic book people showed up and there was a heck of a comic book convention. And everyone's like, wow, San Diego Comic-Con actually was a Comic-Con and it was kind of great. So that little thing just kind of warmed my little comic book retail heart, because half of the world was like doomsaying that that not having true quote unquote television and movie media out there was going to destroy us. And then all the nerds showed up anyway, because comic books are where we get the ability to do all that other cool stuff.
And all the nerds also showed up because they had to buy their tickets far in advance and couldn't take them back.
Sure, but comic books. I mean, the people that actually set up there said like their tables were actually pretty great and stuff like that. So it's interesting, because some people worried that the Pop Culture Con, Media Con was going to eventually kill the comic convention, and I don't think we're quite there yet. So that's kind of cool. We'll see. Lots of shows going on over the summer, but you just were at a pretty big one, so all that's going on. But let's talk about some of the other stuff, and then you can tell us about the joy and wonder that is GalaxyCon and what has become of the space that I used to occupy, but is now occupied by a gigantic convention that seems to be crushing it. But San Diego news. The only thing I really want to talk about out of San Diego is apparently we've been sitting here for most of this year going, where's Donny Cates? And maybe you didn't. Maybe it was just us nerds that realized that Donny was writing half of the books at Marvel, and then suddenly he wasn't. Apparently there's a reason for that. And it's because Donny got in a serious car accident months and months ago, and was apparently in the hospital, in rehab, all kinds of nasty stuff. And Marvel just kind of silently pulled him off from projects while he was recovering and everything. And it wasn't until somebody saw Donnie's scarred up self at San Diego, and Donnie's like, yeah, I tried to almost die, that people were like, wait, what? So if it's felt like Donnie just like disappeared in the middle of some of the stuff he was writing and some of the rumors of stuff he was going to write, it's because he almost died. And I shouldn't laugh there, because that's crazy, but that's kind of his attitude. He's like, yeah, I almost died, but I'm okay now. Thanks for asking. He literally was like, yeah, all of you just assumed really nasty things about me being lazy and other things, and I was trying not to die. And I was like, oh, okay.
Forgive this if this is in poor taste, because I don't intentionally mean it to be in poor taste.
There we go.
Isn't this the dude who tried to restart Daredevil by hitting him with a bus?
I mean, oops.
Is this his origin story? Is this the Donny Cates vigilante origin story?
I feel like his actual original origin story would probably be a while ago, because he's kind of an interesting dude. Like most people assume he's like the punk rock, all the things, but he once upon a time, I believe, had some issues with alcohol, and like he stopped drinking because physically and medically and all that other stuff. Like when I met him 5+ years ago when he was coming on the scene, like he went from hardcore party to nope, kind of good. He does a lot of other stuff, I guess, but he maintains his punk rock attitude. But that's why some people were like, oh, well, you just went and did the thing. And he's like, nope, just kind of tried to get run over by a tractor trailer truck, quite literally. But he's good. He's got some scars, but apparently he's on the mend. And he basically was saying, keep an eye out. Stuff's coming. So you weren't crazy if it felt like Donnie just fell off the face of the planet, because he kind of did.
Nice.
So interestingly enough, other stuff. Diamond used their retailer time at San Diego to kind of put an update out to the entire community and world about their world, and their world is continuing to shrink massively. The list now stands at Marvel, DC, Image, IDW, and Dark Horse are all with either Lunar or Penguin now as a secondary or primary distributor. So Diamond's struggling. They have been trying to figure out a lot of their things. Their shipping costs have been through the roof. They finally renegotiated those and brought them down to a point that's actually competitive. Novel concept. It's still not great, but it's at least more in line with what's going on. They're still trying to figure out their boxing and everything. Of course, all the companies are, because you put, these paper thingies into a cardboard box and have a shipper throw them around, bad stuff happens. Unfortunately, more so rather than not with Diamond and some of the others. They've also been tweaking a lot of their software tools like Pullbox, which you almost never hear about, but I'm actually going to talk about in our next story. And they've been trying to just make some things easier for their integrations and everything for their customers. But the bottom line is Diamond's influence continues to shrink, and Lunar and Penguin have just been cranking stuff out that most of the bigs and even most of the indies are now starting to pull their stuff there. That I don't know what the long-term looks for Diamond. I don't know what they look like financially, but it's got to hurt that the big two aren't doing the volume that they used to through their warehouses, because that's what was paying the bills. So Diamond's still kicking, and I'm sure we'll find some reason to blame them for something probably in the next 3 weeks. I don't know anything. I just feel like that's just how life is for Diamond.
It do be like
that. So we'll keep an eye on it, but away we go. And random. So I had mixed feelings about talking about this, but then I watched the video and I heard why he's doing this. And I'm like, that's an interesting point. But I'm going to talk about mail order and digital subscriptions through the lens of Kevin Smith in the Secret Stash wants to be your local comic book store if you don't have one. And so that's right, true believers. Kevin Smith in the Secret Stash has decided to extend their regular pull list program to online folks, and they will ship and mail your stuff. And Kevin, basically, he's got a wonderful video if you go find the thing where he's like, hey, you don't have a store? Dope. We'd love to be that guy.
So they're trying to be Midtown.
Well, yes, but no, because technically, to be fair, a ton of comic book stores do this. There are big ones in it, and looking through, because I was like, okay, well, I'm curious, if they're using any particular software to do this, because there are a few options out there. How are they doing this? And Kevin's probably going to learn that his fan base is way bigger than he gives credit to himself. And I'm curious when they're going to get overloaded. Because right now, step one is to call the shop to sign up. And I'm like, ooh. Yeah. So
I mean, I've been in their new shop. It's not massive, dude.
Well, that's why I was like, it's a cool. I dig Kevin's heart for not Kevin Hart, but Kevin's heart.
Dude, it's not much bigger than the Dragon's Lair in Fayetteville.
No, I know it's a solid local comic shop, and I still need to make my pilgrimage. I've still never been, and I feel like a bad person for it.
Just make sure when you go, you actually go down to the original spot. It's on the same.
It's
block.
on the same block. I remember that they moved over a few storefronts, but they're using Diamond's pull box. So there it is. Connected to the stories. You're welcome.
So he's keeping Diamond alive.
Yep. Maybe, sort of. But That's software that basically allows you to log in. You can literally go through an FOC. The reason Diamond did it is that you can make your customers do FOC for you.
Also, and I know this isn't, just since we're on the Kevin front, you and I may have talked about it, but that since our break, he announced that he is no longer on drugs.
Yes, we did just talk about it just before break.
Yeah.
He made that thing, and he's on a huge health kick because he realized that if he isn't, he could die. And
well, he also dealt a lot with his mental health and everything.
Yeah,
and
no, all of it was tied together, and he wrote a bunch of really kind of heartfelt posts. He's still Kevin Smith. Watch some videos of him recently speaking. You'll find out that
it's still him.
It's still him.
But dude, we said this, and I think it's on the pull list. If you go back a few years, the drugs were one of the main things keeping him from being the next Stan.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, we did talk about that. I forgot.
We did say that out of everybody that's in the comics industry and pop culture, Kevin stands poised to be the next Stan Lee more than anybody else.
And if maybe this is actually really great. I did this unpurposely. Sure, that's a word. That hurt, but here we are. I think that's where Kevin's heart is coming from. It's not a new concept. And he's even saying, he's like, go to your local store. But if you don't have one, then here's a way you can keep getting physical comics, and supporting a local shop and getting to read the things that comic book people put a lot of their lives into to create. So that's why I wanted to talk about it. That if you don't have a shop, we get this question a lot, is which online ones do you trust? And we don't know yet here, but the Stash is throwing their hat into the ring that, yeah, there's Midtowns, there's things from another world, and on and on and on.
Before I had a shop I trusted, I went to Midtown.
Mm-hmm. Same. I use things from another world a fair amount too.
I also bought lots of them from Amazon on Kindle.
How dare you?
That was pre-pandemic, and I swear I want to go back to that. Just for the gas.
So you can,
and the space.
There you go. You can check it. You can check it all out, though. If you go to the Secret Stash, they actually have a reservist tab, and you can see the video I'm talking about. And they're doing a 15% discount. So they are discounting all that. And that comes from basically by not having to do FOC, you're getting to get stuff that they know are guaranteed to go out the door to individuals. So that's where a lot of shops will basically pass the discount through. So it's a thing.
We pass the savings onto you.
Onto you.
And also to you.
And you. And you.
This just got Episcopalian.
Yeah, a little bit. And also with you. So that's my news, but I wanted Hector to talk about some of his time on the con floor doing his con thing, because we've been out for a little bit. But hey, we're on a podcast and we're on a clock here. But and we actually have some comic books to talk about. Oh my God, we do have comic books. But yeah, tell us a little bit about the show floor and Hector doing con things, because Chris is just lonely sitting in his office not doing cons.
Okay, first of all, shut your dirty mouth.
What?
You've been running Columbus Got Game with like gaming tournaments like every other day. You've been running a street hockey and getting coolers dumped onto you, and
yeah, I did sports things. It's weird.
You did sports things, and you ran like street hockey, and you whistled, and
yeah,
you could do a
whistle.
You've been doing plenty, dude. On the Comic Con industry floor thing. First of all, I went to the Marvel exhibit.
Oh, I was definitely jealous about that. I should have gone this year to Heroes. But
you still got time.
Is it still
open
Charlotte?
Until September? Yeah. You got until September. And I would highly recommend it. For those of you who are big comic heads, like paper comics matter to you, you get to see original pages from the first Marvel issue.
That's cool.
From the first Fantastic Four issue. You get to see the actual pages. There's big statues. There's little places for you to take your photos with. Though when you go through the line and they tell you the rules of what to do and everything, there was one rule. Do you know what the one rule is?
Hmm.
And you saw all the stuff I posted pictures of and everything.
Yeah.
So what do you think the one rule would be?
Take pictures?
Literally, dude, the one rule. And I heard this wasn't just one group. I heard it through several introductory things. The one rule is don't kiss Spider-Man.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he's hanging upside down.
Right.
And I guess it's because he's suspended from the ceiling, and germs. I don't know. But literally,
All
like the
above.
one rule is please don't kiss Spider-Man. Like you can straight like sit in Ben Grimm's lap. They don't care about that. But they're like, don't kiss Spider-Man. But past that, I had my two biggest shows in our break. Heroes Con and Galaxy Con. Heroes Con is and probably always will be one of the most comics purist shows. It's a good show.
Yeah. Them in Baltimore come very close, and I guess I kind of lean towards Heroes because of my North Carolina adoptive home, etc. But those are the two comic shows.
Right. And apparently San Diego's trying.
They only try when people don't show up.
I mean, isn't that most church culture anyway?
Contemporary service is at 11. What?
What? No one showed up. We need a kids ministry.
Oh, no.
Let's do a movie series. As I'm in the middle of a movie series
in the summer, no less. Yep.
In the summer, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever.
Yep.
And Galaxy Con is too big now. I
heard a few people say this, so
it was a very contemptuous and palpably tense situation.
Ooh.
Like it was ugly. And I'm not saying this to poop on the show.
Yeah.
The show on a success scale was better for me this year than last year.
Okay.
Financially, spiritually, all of the things, it was a better show experience in some ways. But since 2016-ish, 17, when it was SuperCon.
Yes. In the before times.
Which, by the way, Good Omens season 2, hilarious.
Yeah, I got to get to that still. I'm behind.
When it just came out yesterday. But they covered the beginning. Hilarious. But GalaxyCon since before, for like as long as it existed for this season, has always been all the vendors and artists and celebrities and food trucks and big visual displays are all on the same floor.
Mm-hmm.
All on the main show floor. Around April, we got an email. And if you know how we people are about reading emails, around April, we got an email saying, hey, we're moving everything. Like specifically, the artist got one saying, you're going 4 floors up to a ballroom.
Thanks for coming out. Bye-bye.
And so not everybody read the email, or if they read the email, it was like, they were tense because you can't get your money back per se with that.
Right.
Because, they've got enough contractual things in there to say we can move you. And it'd be legal, but not cool.
Boo. Boo this man.
But, there were artists that were very angry that they were up there.
And this as well as anyone else, that part of the gamble against a good artist alley at any show is, am I going to be near somebody bigger than me?
Yeah.
Because their line is going to go, oh, what's that? Or they're going to be forced to stare at you while they stand in their line.
My most successful financial show ever, not on reach, but on sales, was when my booth was at the exit of photo ops.
Right. Yep.
When people got their celebrity photos and they walked out and they were so pumped, tell me they just like got a side hug from Nathan Fillion. But I'd be excited.
Yeah. That's okay.
But like, we're literally 4 floors up, and I had maybe a dozen friends that went to the show, left, and never saw my booth because they were still looking downstairs, even though I put a map out.
Because you don't read your social media either.
We just don't read.
Nerds.
we should do better.
Too bad.
But
Read more comics.
the reality is, though, they moved the artists upstairs. They moved the Star Wars big exhibits across to the Marriott Convention Center, and then they moved the board gaming stuff across the street and down a block to the Sheraton.
I mean, we're used to that.
Yeah,
that's where my people live.
Yeah. But like the reality is, it was still sold out every day.
Yeah, it looked crazy.
I sold out of 2 different books.
Let's go.
Which sucks for all the shows that are immediately following.
Womp womp.
I'm trying to get those in time, and I'm got candles burning right now, trying to make new candles. But it was a good experience, and like ministry wise, it's as good as I could hope for. The discussion panel was good. It wasn't just believers.
No, it looked packed.
And then it was packed. And Geek Church literally had people watching through the glass because they couldn't fit in their costumes with all the people.
Nice.
And there's a kid at the end of Geek Church who just asked if he could have a hug. And I mean, it was just like, there was good stuff all around. And like, I didn't care if my sales were terrible or anything, as long as I still got to do ministry. But my sales weren't terrible. It might have been annoying for a minute, but just for the new locations, and I had to take 3 different elevators to get to my floor because none of them connect. But it was a great experience, and that's the problem. If do you want things to grow, or do you want to be happy with what you've had? And because if this is going to continue to grow, we've got to like actually deal with it. It's not going to be convenient for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of where it was. But it was a solid experience, but it also makes me very happy for small shows. Because I don't want to do massive 4-day, 13-hour days every day.
Yeah, some people have always asked me in running shows, like even running what we did, which is now smaller than what Galaxy has become in the same space. That was a long weekend. And even running a 10 to 15,000 person a day show is a lot. Running a 5,000 person a day show is a lot. Because no matter what you do, the space has to be occupied. The space gets bigger and smaller, but you've got vendors and people that you need to keep happy. And you basically, showrunners don't sleep.
No, and they were, I was moderately frustrated like the first night with just how communication had gone. And I was going to try and have a real polite conversation with the guy who booked sales for the show and express my concerns. Before I could get to him, another angry vendor like chewed him out for all of his worth, and he stood there very peaceably, Ted Lasso like, taking it. And yes ma'am, and so I just walked in. I was like, you're doing a good job. To like, never mind, bro, you keep doing your thing, because dude, literally they're the artists that get there 2 hours before the show opens to get everything set are there 13 full hours, because they extended Artist Alley by an hour.
Woo.
So it literally, I got there 8 a.m. It ended at 9 p.m.
Too long.
And 4 days of that.
No, too long. It's interesting because the tabletop industry, I feel like, figured this out, where the comic book industry is like, we'll be open longer. And I was like, what? Because same thing. Like Heroes Con was right on the edge. I feel like they're actually about right. But like Gen Con, so gigantic tabletop convention.
And LTN has what, 22 missionaries?
And there's
at this show.
So that, but also, I believe, unless they've changed things, the show floor closes like at 5 or 6. Like, it's pretty early. And
yeah, I saw
then
that.
Lots of stuff happens afterwards, but it's all off-site. And the main reason they do that is for the poor people on that show floor to either be able to go do the other things that occur throughout the rest of the evening, or for them to do things in different environments. And I was like, after experiencing that, I was like, I don't hate it. Because the show floor opens pretty early, but you can like get a solid day in. You don't feel super overwhelmed, and then you can either take the night off if you need to completely decompress, or You can fill it with other types of stuff or just playing. And I've always kind of looked at that and went, yeah, some comic shows, I feel like we're trying to just jam sell time in. And honestly, there's probably about 3 of those hours that just aren't worth it. Because people get burned out at some point of just walking tables and doing stuff. And especially if they're going to be there for 3 to 4 days, they'll get to it later. You don't need to do 12 plus hours of a show floor to keep everybody happy. You're not keeping people happy. You're upset. You're probably upsetting them. The con can have stuff going on 24 hours a day. I don't care, but give people on the floor a break. You know?
I know the things.
You know the things because you've been there. So yeah, no, that's cool. Cons are back, baby, and lots of stuff going on and all those things, but I guess that's what you need to know from us, at least for now. I know that was like a long summer and it felt like no news, but well, guess what? Comics are weird. And with media kind of taking it in the pants, a lot of companies did not fall back on the thing that makes them money to develop anything new. So such your luck. But we'll keep an eye on the industry for you as always. And as always as well, you can join Hector and I and all of your other nerdy friends over on the Love Thy Nerd Discord. Hector does actually show up there occasionally. He's getting better. We're proud of him. But you can also catch us on the Facebook community
Just
of
at me.
Love Thy Nerd. Just directly at him and he'll show up. It'll be fine. But tell us what you liked, what you didn't, what you hated, what you loved, or possibly what we missed. We probably missed a lot. So just going to tell you now, we missed a lot. Stuff happens. Hector goes to cons. I apparently run street hockey leagues. That's my summer. That's what I do here. So moving right along, let's talk about the main event, the comic books. Bedazzle me with what was truly amazing to you over the last couple months.
Yeah.
Thud.
Let me pull these out. All right. I'm going to go with this Nightwing. Try not to turn my camera off by sitting
Dink.
comics on it. Boop. I'm going to break things. Okay. All right. So Nightwing 105.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like a surprise, and this is one that you're going to want to pick up if you are a fan of a different property. This is the legal, not legal, first canon appearance of the cast of The Office in a DC book. Like the whole shooting match is up in this piece. First of all, 105 is a great issue because it actually is done in first person. So the whole issue is, dude, you're going to want to pick this one up. It's a kind of a masterpiece. So like the issue literally starts with Nightwing putting on his mask and you see the hands putting it on. Yeah. And then, so the whole thing is first person. And at one point in time, to save a lady, you crash into an office building. And I know you won't be able to see it with my
office.
I know you won't be able to see it with like my camera per se, but if you look right here, you've got like Dwight.
Yep.
And it literally, you see Jim, Ryan, Pam, like everybody. So in just this 2-panel spread, because it's the middle splash that goes through those two, but like you get everybody. It's everybody. So in this one panel, I see Creed, Phyllis, Jim, Kelly, Dwight, Meredith, Angela, Stanley, Kevin, Michael, Karen, Ryan, and Daryl. So you get the bulk of the entire Office cast, and they just work them into this 2-page spread. Now,
beautiful.
This was an outstanding Office, or not Office. This was an outstanding Nightwing issue on its own. Just because of the first person vibe, it really was extremely creative. I'm not going to say it's on the whole level of beautiful or fearful symmetry, but visually and storytelling, this is one of the best DC books in the last 5-10 years. Just because of how they pulled off the first person perspective with it. It's worth it. So there's that.
Nice.
Thoroughly enjoyed that. And this is going to be the one nice thing I say about Night Terrors so far. And the Joker, most of these stories are only going to be 2 issues, so that's good in its own self. But like my shop has been putting it, if you were reading the main books on your pulls, they just went to put all the Night Terrors on your pulls that link up. But Joker's, if you're not aware, there's a villain called Insomnia that is looking for the Nightmare Stone from like Dr. Destiny from like Sandman.
Sure. Checks out.
Look, Dr. D, John D. Yeah. But they tied it into Sandman as well. And so they're just like there's a Dream Stone that Dream has. There's also a Nightmare Stone, and he's looking for that. And so the books start out with them killing John D or wounding John D or something like that. But everybody that's not a robot or some weird sentient entity falls asleep at the same time and goes into a nightmare world.
Okay.
That's the whole plot of Night Terrors. Everybody's in a nightmare at once. And this dude's like, bouncing around people's nightmares looking for this Nightmare Stone. The Joker's nightmare is that he has to work a day job in an office.
Yeah, that checks out.
But literally the Joker, and this is issue 1 I'm going to reference. He's having a rooftop battle with Batman, like classic Jokery things, and Batman literally slips on the roof and breaks his neck and dies. Nobody hit him. Nobody tricked him. It wasn't a gag.
Right.
He literally trips, breaks his neck, and dies. And the Joker's just standing there like, what?
Wait, what?
And then because it's raining, his body starts to slide off the roof. And they're like, no. And so with that, he just ends up getting a day job because he doesn't know what to do. And then he drives himself so crazy with that that he starts he keeps Batman's dead body in his like curio cabinet in his living room because he doesn't know what to do next. And so he'll take the costume off the body and start running around and being Batman himself because Gotham needs a Batman. And so in his sleepy time, he puts on Batman's costume and runs around, and he's like trying to figure out one-liners and quips and that Batman would say. And he's trying to do Batman stuff. So if you want to see a Joker literally on the end of his rope without Batman, it's just a nightmare. And it was the most intriguing one out of the whole nightmare or Night Terrors thing that I've read. So
I mean,
how's that?
I have not spent $1 on Night Terror because whenever I see brand wide events like that, I go, my wallet says no. So I wait for people like you to tell me what to read. So thank you.
That one's solid.
I've
I
heard
would
that
say
from
that's
other people.
Yeah. Also going to jump right back to Superman number 5. The pickup of, and this is Jimmy Olsen and Silver Banshee's story. But then it goes deeper than that. And I'll just say Jimmy Olsen and Silver Banshee together, chef's kiss. Just well done.
So that's the ship. We're good.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a good ship. It works well. And I without knowing it dealt with this, I had posted a thing on LTN's community asking about Superman and his ability to hear music of like, can he hear heartbeats on recorded music? Or what's it like for him to hear like live music? And it's literally in this issue.
Huh.
It gets covered. But they also take a dramatic turn with Lex. This is continuing to be probably the best Superman story I've read in a hot minute. So, and it leaves you on a solid comic book cliffhanger. So check that out. And what else did I have? Daredevil 13.
Mm-hmm.
For legal reasons, had to put this one on here.
For non-contractual agreements.
Yes. For contractual, there are two ministerial people hosting a podcast. And Daredevil.
Spoiler alert, Matt Murdock goes to hell.
Yeah. Matt Murdock goes to the not good place.
The not good place, right?
Yes. So literally issue 12 ends with Matt Murdock deciding to go into the underworld.
I feel like you kind of undersold how that decision came about, but fair enough.
I'm trying to be nice and spoilery. Not spoilery. But the story picks up with Daredevil finds out that he's been played the whole time with the fist and the hand, and he was doing stupid things, which
Go figure.
And so he literally has to go into the depths of hell to kind of do some cleanup work, and he's battling some demons, figuratively and literally.
People from his past. Like, I dug this. I just knew that Hector was going to talk about it.
Yeah. But you also get him in a white suit, which is actually does kind of pop. I do enjoy that. Mm-hmm. So if you want to see someone dealing with repentance, literally fighting physical demons in hell and trying to save their friends, and lots of Jesus-y references. Merry Christmas.
He faces his past like dead in the eyes, like over and over again too.
Yeah, it's a good culmination of a Daredevil story, and we start a new Daredevil run next month.
We shall see.
This is the end of this run. So yay. Maybe
we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I saw the solicit for the new one. So I think this is the end of Zdarsky's Daredevil run.
And it was a pretty good run. I got worried there in the middle, but again, when you put random events in the middle of a book, things get weird anyway.
Yep.
But I do feel like I think Zdarsky's entire point was redemption from the very beginning, because he had Daredevil do something he would never do.
Yeah.
And I think we end up there, and there's lots of stuff there. So it's interesting. Oh, goodness. He might be smarter than we give him credit for, because now I'm starting to think about that in the full context of, yeah. Huh. Lots of spoilers there, so maybe I'll save that one for us to unpack later. But if you think about it, the thing happened, he descended, redeemed, and is going to ascend.
Yeah.
There it is.
Who is he that descended, if also not him who ascended? Yeah, got it.
Yep. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Zdarsky shows time and time again that he understands. I don't know if he believes, but he understands. So, fascinating stuff.
I'm really curious to see where the next writer is going to take Daredevil.
I hope it stays, like, there's been years of pretty solid run, so I hope it stays.
Dude, we're talking like, I was looking back on my like Facebook memories, and it's been almost 6 solid years.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about Daredevil runs through 2 different writers, and that both were great.
Well, it was Soleil, mm-hmm. and then Zdarsky. Has it just been those 2?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
What you got?
Oh, I'm going to start with the kind of cool, wonky book that my pull is almost the same as it was when we left. Interestingly enough, and it's because a couple things like wrapped up and a few things are like getting going, but Arcade Kings still is kind of fun, and I think I understand the story a little better now that a few issues have come out, but it's kind of this weird future. I just like this art style is really kind of cool. It's like anime adjacent / like 8-bit arcade-y type characters, and you've got like there are all these different types of fighters, but arcades are everywhere. And at first I thought it was mostly about the games, but it's actually a both and. So they're really good at the game, but they're also actually martial artists in real life. And there's a game battle going on and there's a real life battle going on. And you're finding where all these familial connections are and who are friends of who and all this. So there's this backstory that's kind of unpacking and everything, but it's about being really good at fighting and really good at fighting virtually. But it's a fun story. But it's just pretty. I say that a lot about books that I pick because art drives a lot for me. But it's also just kind of been a fun story. So go ahead and take a look at Arcade Kings. You will find a very pretty book that has lots of colors in it, but kind of an interesting story that keeps unpacking there. Now we're going to get into Chris's indie run of What the Heck, which probably should just become my segment of things that Hector will tell you what the soups are doing, and I'm going to sit over here and tell you what crazy people are doing. So, Jeff Lemire's new joint, Tenement, came out.
I've read the first two.
So there's a few things. Gideon Falls and this series fall in the same universe. You kind of figure that out just looking at the art, because I opened this book and went, Gideon Falls, got it. But if you read the editorial / creator page at the end of the first issue, they explain everything. How many people read the wall of text at the end of a comic or the beginning of a comic? I'll help you. Not very many people. But if you pick up issue number 1, you should, because they explain that when they wrote Gideon Falls, that they had envisioned a shared terror universe and that they want to tell their stories, but they want to tell them in blocks so that you can understand the lane of this story that you are currently in. So you now know that these stories are now connected. And as they put it, this is a form of terror that they are trying to explore and unpack. And so it's got a lot of very similar vibes to Gideon Falls in terms of in Gideon Falls, you kind of had that cockroach character that kind of like infected everybody's dreams, but then the Black Barn existed in this particular place. I think, spoiler, non-spoiler, Tenement is showing you that this building has a doorway to that same place, but they're unpacking what that place actually is. And what you get in this is a big old apartment building, and you get introduced to a kid and 6 other participants that live in this building that all have different things in their lives going on. And I don't know if you caught it, Hector, but I would imagine you did, that the thing that seems to combine them all is that they all have bad habits, very obvious sins, or other things that just generally make them less than great human beings.
Which is why the overtones like sin or 7.
Correct.
There's always, yeah, got it.
And so I found that interesting because they kind of show you slices of these people's lives as they go through the book and see where they're basically screwing up and the life that they're either lying about or not lying about. And a dude dies and leaves a key to this kid, and this key basically bamfs, or it appears to bamf the entire building into that other universe. We don't know whether that's what happened or if it is a literal portal, etc. But this makes my head hurt in all of the good ways because, well, they keep doing this thing like they did in Gideon Falls of splash pages that are just really wild and kind of are designed, I think, to make you feel uncomfortable. So I don't really know where they're going with the whole thing, but they seem to have a plan, and I'm on board because it is different. It's psychological horror versus much else that you're just kind of unpacking stuff. So super great. And also on the Jeff Lemire show, Fandom Road continues to both make my head hurt and also not answer any of the questions. So early on, we get introduced to the truck driver who gets in the accident with the other person. They get bamfed into the parallel universe, or what we think may be parallel, we don't really know, with the zombie-like characters. But they find out that those zombies in the real world are overlapping in some type of way, but there are certain points along their journey that can intersect the two. And that they got to deliver this thing to Golgotha. So Lemire's really been cracking his Bible lately to do a lot of his study by the looks of it. But spoiler alert, they kind of figure out what the thing in the back of the truck is because they get irritated and try to bash it up, and they find out that there's basically an alien bebe living in it. And in the latest episode / issue here, you get introduced to an FBI agent that's been figuring some stuff out. She gets kidnapped and she gets interrogated and asked a bunch of questions about her father, who she finds out was an FBI agent and she didn't know. She's like, my dad wasn't in the FBI. And they're like, cool story. And introduces all of us to something called Project Jackknife. And we have no idea what that is. So now we have the FBI, secret stuff, the trucker trying to bring this thing, parallel universes back and forth thing, and our creepy dude from the Not a Bucky's in the parallel universe, who kind of feels like the devil, but we don't know yet, shows up in the real world this time, but at the FBI, saying, get your people in line. That's where this story is currently. I still have no idea what's going on, but I want to know now, because aliens, parallel, non-parallel, possible devil / Satan foil, and the zombies in the not real world apparently are people in the real world, and you probably shouldn't kill them. Got it? Good. I don't know how Jeff does this, and he has a third book out in all this that didn't make my list. Which is just crazy to me. Which is more like his kind of visceral stuff, like Underwater Welder, like his new book out is just like over here somewhere. It was good, but had too much to talk about. Next, I have The Seasons Have Teeth. Have you read this one?
No, I saw the title.
Great.
That was a good title.
It is 4 issues, 1 season per issue, so it'll come out collected soon. But the basic idea of this is about a photographer who was a war journalist, photojournalist. So he traveled all over the world covering war and that type of stuff. But his wife gets cancer, and he makes an agreement with his wife to photograph basically her descent and ultimately her death. And he wins a bunch of prizes for that. Because they're like, oh, so shocking, this, that, the other thing, so powerful, so moving. And basically this entire story is him unpacking losing his wife to cancer, documenting it and getting personal gain from it. And what happens is you get introduced to the seasons, and the seasons are the embodiment of these gigantic, basically kaiju / monsters. And each season is actually him walking through a season of grief. Like, this is an allegory. It is very obvious it is, as they unpack that, because he describes the violence of summer, the heat and the penetrating that, and the solace of fall and things like that. But it's this world that has fallen, that physical embodiments, these kaiju of the seasons, are terrorizing the world, and he travels to try to photograph them as a penance, basically hoping he'll be killed by these things for what he's done. But at the same time, it slowly unpacks his grief through the seasons of what he did, and telling the story of his wife, because you don't get it all up front. You just know that she died of cancer, and you find out as the story goes. I did not expect this to be what it was. And when you really start unpacking what is happening here, it's really deep. Because you realize that you could just read this and it's an interesting story, but that there is layer upon layer upon layer of what's actually being communicated. And you kind of get to the end and get the aha moment of it all. So those are my cray cray books. And I'll hit my number one off the top because I've already told this story, but it came out. I mentioned a free comic book day book a few episodes ago, but Rick Remender's The Sacrificers full book came out.
Yeah.
And A, gorgeous. But B, this high fantasy world, you're introduced, you don't get a lot more than what we got in the free comic book day book, but basically that each family has to like sacrifice or give up a child every so often to fight in this great war type thing so everyone can be safe. And you're introduced to basically they're called sacrificers, so there you go. You get introduced to the main character that is going to go on this journey in this point. So it's kind of wild. We don't know what the Great War is or what it's over or anything. You just kind of got this really visceral image of a kid being taken from his family because that's what he was literally born to do. So I think there's going to be a lot there, but it's sitting in a high fantasy type world. Where'd you end up? I saw where you ended up, but I didn't find a copy of it. So I want
to. I'm just going to go ahead and show both 1 and 2. Click, click, boom. So picture a punk rock pixie investigating a murder where also another journalist, lawyery person is investigating a murder. But the short version is there is a young lady who's cool and eclectic, but is nonverbal, doesn't know sign language. And so she communicates with Polaroids. And so she has a bag of Polaroids from her past, from her dad on up, who raised her, who is also a war trauma survivor. And they're trying to hunt down a bad man. And the whole John Wick style world is after them. So John Wick action, cute girl with pink hair, Polaroids, bananas, storytelling. It's fun.
That's crazy.
But yeah, it's just like I read the first 2 issues and I was like, I would read 12 of this. And it's solid as well. So
nice. Well, we wanted to give you all a gift for our first episode back, or we're calling it a gift. Maybe it's a gift to Todd and Todd alone, but maybe it'll bless the rest of you as well. And that Todd, one of our other, I almost said co-host, and maybe that's fair. He's almost attained the level, but
he's a co-host in our hearts.
Our honorary co-host, Todd, reads way more books than we do at times, and he kind of developed a summer reading list, and Hector's got the high points for y'all. So Todd, thanks for being a constant listener and for filling in for me when I get too busy doing things. So tell the people what they should be reading.
So I asked Todd to give me his top 10 individual books of the summer. 2 of them were in our polls.
Okay, nice.
Daredevil 13 and Click, Click, Boom.
Really? Nightwing wasn't?
Nope. So Something Epic number 3.
Okay. Yep.
Just it's a good book. He said the Usagi Ninja Turtles number 5, great crossover. Clobbering Time number 2, which is a thing. Many said that it's just the Wolverine and thing going at it was good. Click Boom was there. Batman 136. And he says, again, I know why, but I forgot why. I need to revisit that. Wonder Woman 800, not for the front story, but for the John and Damian grown up in the back mini that's in the back of it. Void Rivals number 1, which is
Void was interesting. It almost made my list. The thing that really caught me off guard is in Void Rivals number 1, there is a cameo that is very out of place. And I went, what just happened? Because Image owns the rights to it now, or it was right up against probably violating something. But I was like, wait, that was what?
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead and read that for that one. You're welcome.
Iron Man number 6, He says Ben is just spot on with his new run. Let's see. Ultimate Invasion #1. And evil Reed Richards going to destroy the whole world with weird art. So there's that. Spider-Verse #3, who is still learning about the new Spider-Boy. Feels sweet. Yeah. That's just the essentials you want me to point out. So, if something we pointed out ours, if none of that clicked, try Todd's list too. So
yeah, there you go. So now you've got lots of stuff to talk about. So congrats and enjoy. But that's going to do it for us here at the Pull List. Episode 88 is now in the books and now in your ears and your wonderful eyeballs as we continue our stand over at YouTube. The YouTubes. You were going to say something? Okay. I don't believe you.
Making faces.
Okay, making faces. Okay. It's true. We are there on the YouTube, so don't miss that. You get to see the face that Hector just made. But we couldn't possibly do this alone. We do this with a boatload of other podcasts over on the Love Thy Nerd podcast network, and stay tuned. You'll see new stuff from Faith and Fandom and Hector, that guy on the other side right there, really soon on the network. So if you don't get enough Hector here, you are going to get so much Hector you don't know what to do with Hector. Hector is doing all the things to all the places to all the people, and yeah, but now you can get it all in one place on the Love Thy Nerd podcast network, which you can hit up at lovethynerd.com. Learn about who all of us wonderful mugs are, previous episodes, find yourself a new show like Hector's Faith and Fandom. When's that start? Tell the people.
I think the first episode premieres August 14th.
Okay, so very soon. So keep an eye out. You get that. But Hector and I do want to thank each of you for choosing us as your primary comic book factory on a near weekly basis. So don't leave us hanging. Rate, review the show on all of your podcasting apps of choice. We're on the iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, probably other places. Who knows? The internet's a magical place of...
We're in the newspaper.
You can find us under classifieds. It's really hard to listen to us there, but we're there. So thanks for listening. And remember, kids, read more comics.
Read more comics.
I'm gonna take all 7 continents, the game of risk. I'm the master of epic duels.